Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of the conference on celebrating partnerships in housing counseling. My name is Karen Hoskins, and I'm a consultant and technical assistance provider on the ICF team. For over 25 years, I've been engaged with supporting housing counseling agencies and partnerships that allow them to have greater impact in the communities they serve. Over the last 2 days, we've had an opportunity to look at the programmatic aspects of housing counseling with the session yesterday, what CPD grantees need to know about housing counseling. And then earlier today, we discussed housing counseling and affordable housing programs, as well as with homeless services. So in the conversation now, we want to shift and examine 3 best practice examples of CPD and housing counseling programs working in partnership with each other. The 3 examples are distinct from each other in program design, geographical location, and the way CPD funding is helping support clients. You're about to hear more about these programs, and we hope through the conversation, you'll be able to identify partnership opportunities for your agencies that perhaps you hadn't considered before. So let's get started. As always, we just want to remind you of the chat box and the Q&A boxes at the bottom of your screen. The chat box is for technical questions that you might have with the technology being used. You can post your questions there and someone is available to help support you and get you an answer. But the Q&A box is specifically for questions for our speakers and content related to the materials that are provided with this presentation. So use that Q&A box for any questions that you have. And at the end of the presentations, we'll take a few minutes and get to as many questions as we possibly can. The materials, the PowerPoint presentation is already available on the HUD Exchange. So that information is there. If you go there now, this PowerPoint is available. You will also be able to access a transcript of this session and the live recording, also available on the HUD Exchange within 7 to 14 business days. Also, we're delighted to let you know that you can obtain a certificate of attendance for having participated in this session. At the conclusion of the session, your participation is recorded, is marked, and you will be able to obtain and print, if you so desire, a copy of your certificate, also available on the HUD Exchange. Not all HUD Exchange trainings have certificates of attendance available, but for this conference, we're delighted to be able to make a certificate of attendance available for those who would like to obtain one. So with those logistics out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to Shauna LaRue-Morai, Director of ICF, to get us started. Shauna.
Thank you so much, Karen, and welcome back everyone to this partnership session. We thought in the spirit of partnerships, we've got 3 examples that we're going to talk about today in this session. However, we know that there's so many different partnerships going on out there. So we're going to invite you back to the Mentimeter board. And we want to know what partnerships you foster between housing counseling agencies and CPD grantees. And it would be lovely if you could mention the name of the community, organization, and like the scenario. And we will touch base with you later on. I'm going to let this flow in behind us, but it's good to see some things going on in New Jersey and in State College, Pennsylvania, and CHFA. I might need help with that, but that might be Colorado Housing Finance Agency. So if you can spell acronyms too, we would love it. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. And Karen welcomed you, and I am here as well, but we're excited to have all of our panelists here. We have Michael Sean Adams, who's a programs manager for the Northern Virginia Family Service. We also have Bill Lord, who's the Assistant Director of Community Programs at the Tennessee Housing Development Agency. And he and his colleague, Jana Johnson will talk about homebuyer education and what the great work that they're doing there in Tennessee. And finally, they also will welcome their Chodo, Lindy Turner, who's Executive Director at Clinch Powell. And then finally, we'll hear from Yvonne Bartley, the Executive Director of the Multicultural Development Center. And I just realized I missed Claire Lewis and is going to join Michael Adams. So I'm sorry, I apologize for that. We're going to hear from them first. So we put links to all the organizations, and we're going to celebrate all these case studies throughout this 1-hour presentation and then have time for questions. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Claire Lewis, I'm so sorry, and Michael Sean Adams to tell us about their programs.
Thank you, Sean. I'm Claire Louie from Northern Virginia Family Service. I am the Director of Community Housing. Northern Virginia Family Services' breadth, depth, and scope of services offer the resources and support to ensure that everyone in need at every stage of life maximizes their potential and fully contributes to a thriving community. We provide the essential building blocks for financial, emotional, and physical well-being, serving as leaders and innovators for the Northern Virginia community. Every year, we empower more than 35,000 individuals to achieve self-sufficiency. With these essential resources, our community is better equipped for future success and engagement among all of our neighbors. I want to talk a little bit about the Rental Subsidy and Services Program, which falls under community housing. And it is a program that offers medium to long-term rental subsidy assistance with case management. It's a program that is designed to move clients from homelessness to maintaining self-sufficiency when they exit the program. The program offers subsidies for up to 24 months, and every 3 months, clients are assessed in order to determine the length of the subsidy. It is a housing first program, so the first thing we do is house the households who come to us. After that, we offer wraparound service, including benefits counseling, career navigation, and mental health wellness services. The eligible households should earn less than $50,000 of Fairfax County's average median income, but no minimum income is required. So we do have several zero-income households because we are a no-barrier program. We get our referrals through the prioritization pool through Fairfax County's Office to Prevent and End Homelessness, and clients are selected during housing match meetings. It is not a mandated program, so clients also have the option of refusing participation in the program, so it is a voluntary program. It is not an open referral program. RSSP, as we call it, started last July. We targeted to assist 88 families in our first year, and I'm happy to say as of this week, we have 88 certificates signed, which means we have 88 households engaged. And of those 88 certificates signed, we have about 50 households housed. I will now turn it over to Michael Sean to talk a little bit about rapid rehousing, prevention, and utility assistance programs.
Thank you, Claire Louie. I'm going to start talking and wait for my slide to change. And by the time I reach, there we go. Thank you, guys. I bring you greetings from Manassas, Virginia. I am Michael Sean Adams. I am a program manager for homeless services here. I manage our 92-bed shelter facility, along with our prevention programs, rapid rehousing, and utility assistance. Not all of our services, but a key portion of our services are delivered by HUD certified counselors. My counselors became certified through our partnership with Virginia Housing. We attended a 3-day training, and after much trial and error, 3 of my team members were able to pass that test, which has been likened to an LSAT. It's very difficult, but we were able to get through it, and we are pressing forward with our new team members also becoming HUD certified, because it's very important in the rapid rehousing work that we do. Like I said, we manage, first of all, the SERVE shelter. We are an emergency shelter and financial assistance programs with rent and utilities. And our goal is to prevent homelessness from occurring in Fairfax and Prince William counties. My shelter is in Prince William County. All of our services are coordinated through our COC, and the beginning point or starting point for all of our services is our coordinated entry system. Coordinated entry manages shelter beds, prevention, and utility assistance spaces or prioritization list. But when it comes to rapid rehousing, we are very fortunate to have had the Housing Trust Fund. We are the only shelter provider in our area who was approved for HTF, and we just did an application and we will receive it again. HTF has been our go-to when other forms of financing have been too restrictive and we needed something that was a little more flexible and a little more loose for rapid rehousing. We are able to utilize Housing Trust Fund. But we're really very fortunate because we also have VHSP, ESG, ESFP, CHIRP 1 and 2, RUAP, and Bezos. As you guys might know, a few years ago, Jeff and Melinda Bezos gave 26 organizations in the country $2.5 million for what they call day one funds to fight homelessness. And we were fortunate enough to have been the recipient of that largesse. So we are using that money quite wisely. Through our partnership with Virginia Housing, we provide renters education and renters counseling. Our education portion is an online module called Renters Ed. It is 9 modules and it is required for everyone who is in a rapid rehousing program. Our housing counseling takes place during one-to-one meetings with the housing counselor and are overseen by a supervisor who is also a HUD 200 counselor. So last year, we were fortunate enough to be able to serve 253 souls. That represented 117 households. The average length of stay was about 92 days. 82% of those families and individuals were able to move to a place described as permanent by HUD, and 87% of those placements have remained successful after 1 year. We were also able to house 3 veterans, and 100% of them were able to be housed and serviced as well. So next slide, please. So through the CLC, we have access to our ESG programs, which has been a lifesaver for us. We also were able to access ESG cares. With those funds, we were able to purchase PPE to make our buildings safe, to purchase shields, and to put some of that money toward operation costs. But we also use ESG for rapid rehousing and prevention, almost as a plan B or plan C when VHSP is not available. With CDBG, we were a sub-recipient. So the CDBG funds went to our partners at county, and then through them, we were able to access $6,000 for transportation only. With that $6,000, we were able to provide more than 200 cab rides, 3 tickets, bus tickets that resulted in permanency, Metro passes, and tokens. And so that was great. It lasted about 6 months, and we look forward to receiving those funds again because we are in a dead zone as far as transportation is concerned here in Manassas, Virginia. Our RSSP is funded through the CLC with leveraged dollars through Fairfax County owned rental property and revenue. And we're also operating an RUAP program, which is a combination rent and utility assistance programs, and landlords are able to recoup up to $2,800 in rental payments, and $750 can be used for utility assistance. So again, we were able to access those funds, prevent more than 22 utility shutoffs through our partners with TAP, Novak, Energy Share, and Dominion. Next slide. Oh, is that all? Gosh, I was just getting warmed up. I'm going to pass this to my good friend, Bill, who is probably in Johnson City, Tennessee, I hope, but he's most definitely in the birthplace of gospel and country music. So I will turn it over to our friends in Tennessee.
Thank you, Michael. Sean, I appreciate it very much. And no, I'm sad to say I'm not in Johnson City, though I do travel to Johnson City frequently.
All right.
Our offices are in Nashville. I am actually in a little town called Shelbyville, Tennessee today. I'm happy to join you. And also joining me will be Jana, who is our housing education manager, to talk about our programs as well. I'm going to focus on our CHODO program, which is our primary program for housing development for sale to low-income home buyers. And in that program, we partner with nonprofit organizations across the state of Tennessee to help build that stock of housing that can be sold to home buyers. The partnerships are just extremely important when it comes to the development of housing, getting housing developed and built and put into the hands of folks who may not normally be able to purchase a house in the conventional market. One of the things that makes that work as it does is our housing counseling and housing education programs, which under the home program, we are required to make sure that the recipients or beneficiaries, as we call those, the home buyers, are able to access and complete a HUD certified housing counseling education program and the housing counseling that goes with it. In our partnership with the CHODOs, we encourage them to start early with that process. As a matter of fact, we require in our application for them to demonstrate they have a pipeline of potential home buyers that they're already working with along the counseling to help prepare them for home ownership. And of course, as part of that is the requirement that they complete the HUD certified home ownership counseling program as well. We, in the Community Programs Division of THDA, which is our Housing Finance Agency for the state of Tennessee, we partner with our home education department that is housed in another division to make sure they help prepare our CHODOs and other nonprofits across the state and help maintain a home buyer education network across the state of Tennessee to make sure that we have folks ready and prepared to provide this home buyer education to the potential home buyers as they're preparing to move into home ownership. It's very, very important. The down payment assistance is provided as another part of our home program. It also requires that same home buyer education completion. And we check the compliance. That's done prior to the final funding of the purchase on our side, as we check the compliance to make sure that home buyer did complete the home buyer education and go through the home buyer counseling as required. And again, we work with our CHODOs. We're going to have one of those join us shortly. Lindy will be joining us from Clinch Powell, so she's going to explain a little more clearly how they work that process and how that works for them. In that process, we allow that to happen a couple of ways. So our nonprofits, some of them are home buyer education, certified home buyer education counseling agencies and have counselors on staff. And if that be the case, sometimes they provide the home buyer education. The home buyer themselves, the individual who's going to receive this, buy this home that was built with these home funds, has a choice. They can choose what the home buyer education provider that they would like, as long as that provider is properly qualified and certified as a HUD certified agency and HUD certified counselor. For that, though, in some cases, the home buyer will pay for that service directly. They'll pay for that education, and that is applied to the 1% requirement. They're required to put 1% investment into the home based on the purchase price of the home. And that is that amount that they pay for the counseling is often used as a portion of that. In some cases, again, it's provided by the agency themselves, and it can be billed directly back to the home program as a qualified soft cost. So there are different ways to approach it. Our partners, we have partners that do it differently all across the state, but in the end, the biggest The biggest thing that we need to make sure that happens is that they are properly trained, that they go through the home buyer education course and receive the counseling and have access, hopefully, to ongoing counseling as they go through the process. And with that, I'm going to bring Jana aboard. Jana, if you'd like to join, I think we are probably ready for you.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Bill. So what our team does, my name is Jana Johnson. I'm the Housing Education Resource Team Manager at THDA. And our team basically supports the network that the home program utilizes. So we're a team of 7. And on our team, we actually have HUD housing counselors. So we know firsthand some of the things needed in order to support the housing counselors. Within our network, we have about 65 agencies, 20 of which are HUD approved. In talking about partnerships, we really want to highlight those agencies who are housing counseling agencies certified and approved under HUD, as well as CHODOs for the THDA program. So we have 5 housing counseling agencies within our housing counseling network who also serve as home CHODOs to develop affordable housing. Dominion Financial, Eastern 8 CDC, Frazier CDC, Home Source of East Tennessee, as well as Clinch Powell. And we will hear from Lindy here in a little bit. Collectively, these agencies provided housing, education, and counseling services to 347 clients in 2021. Of those, 200 were in rural areas. And if you know anything about Tennessee, you know we have a large area that's rural, and we want to make sure that we're reaching them. Already this year, they have served 93 clients, which we're really pleased with. Although each agency is on a different grant cycle for their home administration, they each have collectively assisted over 18 home applicants over the past 3 years. So even that shows exactly what our agencies are doing and the partnerships they have with both my team as well as the home program. But in an effort to support, and Shauna, if you would go to the next slide for me. We offer variety, and I say successes, but it's more or less the support that we offer the network providers. As I mentioned, our team we have 3 certified housing counselors on staff, so they have experienced it firsthand what the exam looks like. And so that in itself has offered great advice and guidance for those who need to take the exam and prepare for it. We also utilize those housing counselors to offer study sessions and HUD boot camps for our existing network and those who just need to complete the exam. So we take time to invest in our agencies that are part of our network. We provide consumer materials. We also offer compensation. Compensation is bill shared. There's compensation on the home side. It can be billed to the grant, or there are some that the clients pay directly for the home buyer education and counseling services. And then there's also the opportunity where THDA offers compensation for their services. And then the big thing is the training that we really value and we find that our agencies greatly appreciate. We hold monthly webinars, quarterly program check-ins. We do study sessions to prepare them for the certification exam. And then we do annual conferences. All of these things allow the opportunity for them to get continued education hours, which we all know is very important in supporting the certification. The other way that we offer feedback and support our network are our collaborations. We collaborate very closely with other HFAs, so other housing finance agencies, our counterparts in other areas. It was really good to hear from Michael, Sean, and Claire because we work really closely with the Virginia Housing Authority. And right now we're actually working with Michigan to offer a succession planning series. It's a 7-week series. So we work together with other HFAs to see statewide, nationally, what's going on with best practices, processes and procedures, and industry-related trainings. So those are some ways that we're able to be put back into our networks and our agencies. So at this time, that's just a little bit about what we do to support our networks and those who are offering the education for the home program. I'd like to bring Lindy in so she can share a little more about what they do as a housing counseling agency in Choteau. Lindy?
Thanks, Jana. And hello, everyone out there. It's great to be here to share with you. And I want to say that we're honored at Clinch Powell to be asked to do so. As you see on the screen, kind of our way of looking things is that if we can do it, we will do it if we can. So as a nonprofit, that is that's pretty much how we all have to operate. You pitch in and get done what needs to be done. Next slide. There we go. Thanks. Clinch Powell, our headquarters is in East Tennessee, so we are closer to Johnson City, but still about 2 hours away from Johnson City. We are east of Knoxville, to give you an idea where my home office is. We are in Rutledge, so we are really in the rural area of the state. We are a HUD-approved counseling agency and have been since 2002. We have found that it's very important to be an approved counseling agency, and we're proud to be so and working with HUD for all these years. I also want to take just this minute to say thank you to THDA and kind of underline the things that Bill and Jana said, and kind of the whole storyline here is partnerships are critical. While we were doing housing counseling before it became a real focus of THDA, it has made a huge difference in the state of Tennessee when THDA really made an effort and has put not only money but heft behind developing housing counseling across the state. For many years, we were the only approved housing counseling agency that served rural Tennessee. And so we actually have always served the entire state, because for many years we were the only ones who would serve outside of the major metropolitan areas. We are also a Choteau and depend a great deal on the home program grants. Over the years, it makes a huge difference. For those who may not really be familiar with Choteau's, the Community Housing Development Organization, and pretty much what the key point that is so important about being a Choteau, it's this right here. It's that it basically provides us with construction financing and the ability to have some down payment assistance to live in homes to make them affordable for people who typically would find home ownership a real challenge. We are a 501c3. We've been in business for 32 years, and we didn't go into housing until like year 10. So, and the reason that we went into housing is because it was a huge need. And if you, for 80% of the people who lived in the rural region that we serve, to be a homeowner, pretty much your only options were you could afford very old housing stock that was riddled with the needs for repairs, or the other option might be mobile homes that were never energy efficient. The financing was very expensive. They depreciate instead of appreciate. So the choices for the vast majority of our citizens were very unacceptable. And that's the reason why we got into housing to start with. So being a Choteau makes it possible to put people with modest incomes, limited incomes into new homes that are Energy Star certified and that appreciate in value rather than depreciate, so that it is their their avenue to build family wealth and security. And we all know that stable families build stable communities. So over the years, with home grants and then the proceeds that we have from those, we have produced pretty close to 100 homes for people who is now building family wealth. And that's really important. So the Chodos are extremely important, and I hope that you're all working with them and supporting them. We also do a lot more with THDA. They are extremely important partner with us, including ESV and other programs. But today we want to talk about development. We're also a financial opportunity center with Rural LISC, where we provide kind of that entry level of coaching, which then leads to counseling. We look at things, lots of folks who come to us are not on the ladder. So our first goal is to get people on the ladder, and then with our programs, we move them up the ladder. Partnerships and collaborations are key. Next. So when you walk into the door at pretty much any Chodo, all of us try to say the answer is going to be yes. It may not be today, but we will meet you where you are and we'll take you where you want to go. And primarily that's done through counseling, because if people, there aren't that many people that walk in the door that don't have something to work on. But by working with our counselors, and we have 4 certified counselors on staff, they will get you where you want to go, and we're very proud of that. So let me tell you a little story as an example. This is Jeff's story. He came to us in 2012, single father of 4 children. At the time, they were 7, had twin girls, 11, and then an older son who was, I think, 13 or 14. When he first came in the door, what he wanted, they lived in a substandard trailer, mobile home, and he had a dream of home ownership to make a better life for his kids. So we first worked with him. He became a renter in a house that we had. His credit score was down around, he only had 2 scores. They were upper 5s, low 6s. So we worked with him for a couple of years, got him to where he had credit scores over 640, got collections taken care of, cleaned up, all that, worked with him on household budgeting. He is actually, his only income was disability. And then he became a home participant. So we built him an Energy Star certified home house with a home grant as a Chodo, and his kids and he have moved in 2015, I believe. And now the kids are grown up, and one of his daughters actually is now a deputy sheriff and has applied for participation here, and she's also going to be a homeowner here in the next couple of months. So just a real world example of how you can change, or how we all of us, everyone on this conference call here, or this conference, are changing lives. And good job to us all. And we're really happy to be partners with HUD and with THDA and with all the other people. It takes everyone. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Yvonne, who's my new good friend in Louisiana, and she's going to share with you about the Multicultural Development Center.
Hi, Lindy. Thank you so much. My name is Yvonne Bartley. I'm the Executive Director, Program Director for the Multicultural Development Center, also known as MCDC. We are located in Bossier City, Louisiana. We are a relatively young and very small housing counseling agency. In fact, I'm a team of 1 person. Here we our target areas are Caddo and Bossier parishes. But because of where we're located, I get clients from East Texas, as well as Arkansas, and then the entire state of Louisiana. MCDC is a nonprofit community-based program, multi-program service agency that provide basic human needs through neighbors helping neighbors. The organization was formed by and continues to be supported by Stonewall Missionary Baptist Church. Stonewall members agreed to pool their resources to better serve the community needs through the services that we offer. So MCDC is a full service organization that provides family services, which includes housing counseling. We are a member of or a subsidiary of the Louisiana Housing Corporation. They are the HUD approved intermediary. MCDC's housing counseling agency provides all eligible types of one-on-one counseling services, with the exception of rental counseling and reverse mortgages. Because we are so small, we just really do not have the capacity to offer those two types of counseling. So having said that, we provide the pre-purchase counseling, the first-time homebuyer education classes, both in person as well as online. We provide financial education, default, loss mitigation, and the kids' financial literacy boot camp grades 9 through 12. And because of the pandemic, we now offer the counseling via Zoom, the internet, and telephone counseling. So our linkages to CPD programs is that we receive funding from Bossier City Community Development Department. The funding provides a viable benefit for Bossier City through educating prospective home buyers. It also aids in creating more homeownership opportunities for LMI individuals and families, thus improving the quality of life, which is one of the goals of the consolidated plan for Bossier City. The funding covers housing counseling under public services. MCDC annually partners with the City of Shreveport on consolidated planning and analysis of impediments through focus group sessions and the consolidated plan forums. So although we are a very small, still growing housing counseling agency, the CDBG funding is critical in helping to deliver the services to eligible participants in our community. This time, I'll turn it back over to Shonda.
Thanks so much, Yvonne. And we are going to go to a couple of the questions in the questions box that we have. What we'd like to do is welcome you to ask any questions about partnerships. That's really what we're focused on in this particular session. But I would invite all the panelists to come back on camera, and we'll at least take a couple I think all of you could answer, which is the very first one is, and I think Lindy answered this about how they got started in housing counseling, but I guess I'd like to know, all of you, just briefly, how did you find each other? Okay, so maybe in Tennessee, it started on the Chodo side first. I don't know, but I would just like to know, and then for each of you, just tell us how you got started with your linkage, your connection to these CPD grantees. Who started the conversation?
Lindsay, I'm not sure. Were you on the Chodo before you were a network agency? I feel like you were a homebuyer education provider you've been in the housing counseling side for a while.
Was that to me, Jana?
Yes.
Yes. We were a housing counseling agency first. Although it was pretty close right in there. I can tell you, when my organization, again, going into housing, came after we did a regional strategic planning process, and housing came up as a need. And then we spent about a year developing a strategy with, and making sure we weren't going to duplicate services with other groups and that kind of thing. So all part of that investigation brought then together who are the players, how would we possibly fund things, what would be the skills that we need to know. So, clearly the Housing Finance Agency is going to be one of your most important partners to get to know quickly.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Lindy. How about for you, Yvonne? How did you get started with the communities that you're working with in Louisiana?
Okay, The way I got started was because I am so small. I had to seek out other places or other providers to help fund the programs that we do here. So I met the person, Kay Jackson, in community development at one of the forum group meetings. And at the group, they were explaining some of the permissible uses for the funds. And that was when I realized there was a linkage in what I do and what they fund.
Okay, perfect. And was that at Bossier or Shreveport? It was Bossier, right?
I actually met her at the one in Shreveport.
Okay. Okay, great. So forum, a great opportunity to network and find out some commonalities. Okay, so Claire, do you want to talk about how you, or Michael Sean, how you approach Fairfax County and Prince William County, or was it the other way?
I think in both cases, we have a very close relationship with the counties where we serve. With the rental services and subsidy program, we had an older program, Bridging Affordability, that was being sunset. And RSSP was a cooperative effort to try to continue to serve the same segment of the population, but in a new and more housing first centered way. So that would be how that one came about. And with Prince William County, because our shelter is located in that county, we are always eager to have our guests exit and, you know, start their journey towards self-sustainability and hopefully permanent housing options. So it was sort of a natural relationship.
Okay. Thank you so much, Claire. And actually, this question is for Michael Sean. There was some interest. This is one of the questions that somebody wrote in. They were very interested. Alongside your one-on-one housing counseling, you also have this online renter education. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that?
I know Michael Sean was dealing with the crisis at the shelter right now, so I'll just speak for him.
Thank you, Claire.
Our Renters Ed program is a program that we do in cooperation with Virginia Housing. So I can, you know, get the information and forward it to you to share with all of the participants.
Okay, got it. No, actually, you just had to say Virginia Housing. I did forget that they have a rental, like online education program. Just like Tennessee, Virginia Housing is also a state housing finance agency, one of 1920 that works with HUD's housing counseling program as well. They participate as part of their connection to HUD. So thank you, Claire, that's really helpful. Let's see what other kind of questions we have. We've got two different, a couple of rural examples, mid-sized city, and then also urban, if you don't mind me saying that, Claire, for Northern Virginia, since I lived in Fairfax County and know Prince Williams County as well. Just a lot of different needs in different areas, but still helpful. So I'm not seeing anything in particular here about partnerships. A couple things. So if you guys could ask questions about partnerships, anything on your mind, Karen, in terms of our panel here? What came to mind as they were speaking?
Well, I just want to let Yvonne know that she got a shout out from a participant at the mention of the fact that she's a team of one. So that's pretty impressive. But they also asked a question about, do you engage volunteers to support the work of the organization, perhaps through churches? How do volunteers play a role in the services provided, if at all?
Okay, this is Yvonne again. The volunteers from the church and from our board will help promote the program. I cannot use them in my office because of the confidential information in the office. And so for that reason, I cannot utilize them there, but they're really good about passing out flyers and promoting the first-time homebuyer classes, the kids financial literacy boot camp. That's another way we can get the word out because we don't have a lot of marketing money.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Also, this is to everyone who may have a comment about it. Certainly, we're in a period where housing prices are rising, rental costs are rising. What impact is that having on the services that your agencies provide? Lindy, you talked about the fact that you assist folks in getting into affordable housing in this market. That I'm sure that can be challenging. Any thoughts around that? Any strategies, or has that changed your approach to supporting clients at all, this environment?
Oh boy, that's a huge one, and it is a challenge. It's a struggle. We're not a developer at a scale that can buy things in bulk, or like the bigger players do. The fact that we build our own houses helps somewhat, because we have the ability to control somewhat of the admin or the overhead type charges. It is, just to be honest with you, we've been fortunate in that we had quite a bit of land, and that's, even though the supply chain is a massive problem, and the big reason that's such a problem is because that extends the time it takes to develop or to build a house, and time is money. So your carrying costs are so much, and then your financing is changing every day. The rates are going up. So it's just something you have to be really careful with in business. Make sure you don't get out ahead of yourself. Make sure we're connecting. Our counseling department is different from our development department, and our development and counseling department are different from our lending department. So you just have to be really careful and make sure you're connecting them with the best financing, and quite honestly, hold your breath, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
that's where we are today.
I'm glad you mentioned all the separation of folks in your office too. I think that's really helpful, since housing counseling agencies always have to provide multiple options in terms of home ownership. I wonder, Karen, I have another sort of community-wide question, but wanted to make sure that you didn't have anything else on your mind.
Well, while we're talking to Lindy, I just want to ask her one additional follow-up. Lindy, first of all, we love the story, Jeff's story. That's really, housing counseling agencies live for stories like that. Would be interested to know, since you all are, serve rural communities, how do you get the word out about your services?
Honestly, we found that the best, word of mouth is always the best sales thing, but for us, and the most affordable and most effective is actually social media. It's cheap, and that for us is, and then through other groups. We try to network with the broad range of groups, but for us, that's the most affordable, the most effective. And since we don't serve a community or a city or a county, it's also the easiest way to do it in, across the state or across the region, kind of thing. So that's what's worked for us.
Okay. Shauna?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Karen. So yeah, one of the folks asked about, she thought this panel would be about broader partnerships. And this actually is a question for Yvonne, since she has been working with both Bossier City as well as City of Shreveport on their planning process. So this person's looking for community partnerships community-wide, bringing in social service, health agencies, local housing authorities. So maybe you could talk about what the City of Bossier or Shreveport is doing in terms of how they brought you in, or how you have, been able to make some inroads there. And Yvonne, if you're talking, unmute yourself.
Okay, are we there?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was talking.
Totally fine. Yeah.
I can talk specifically about Bossier because that's where I get my funding from.
Mhm.
First of all, for a long time, there were HUD-approved housing counseling agencies in North Louisiana, but none that were, I guess you could say, certified, that was literally here, physically located here in the area doing the work.
Okay.
And so our partnership entailed me doing work that is much needed, work that the community has asked for. For example, the reason we ended up doing the kids financial literacy boot camp was because majority of the parents in first time homebuyer classes says, our kids need to know this information before they become adults, and they make the same mistake that I made. So for that reason, whenever we went to community development, we explained this is what the participants in this area are asking for. And so they saw the need. And here in this area, we have a huge number of payday lenders. And so it was specific things that we addressed that they also wanted addressed in the community. And so that was how there was a linkage there with our agency and with Bossier Community Development.
Okay, that was a really helpful example. Jana, did you want to comment?
I was going to say, I want to kind of piggyback off of some of the topics that were mentioned, but really the connection with an HFA, your local housing finance agency. I see somebody asking, what should newbies do? Just that connection alone, that offers a variety of resources. And I know I mentioned that our team has housing counselors on, staffed. We connect with, and every state may be different, but in Tennessee, there's something called CAB, so Community Advisory Boards, and they're in every county. And so they are literally connecting resources, social services, health agencies, the housing authorities, and they come together every month for a meeting. So they talk about programs, they talk about county needs, housing, and things like that. And so we're able to not only be a resource, but also connect with others that could be a resource for us. So those are ways that, if that's available in other states, you should definitely connect.
Yeah, those are all really great tips. I feel like this is kind of coming full circle since we had the linkages session in the beginning where we learned about these housing committees. We learned about continuum of care have advisory boards and their own continuum of care committees too. We heard forums is also Yvonne hooking up originally on a forum that was done locally there in Bossier, and others. I feel like Claire also wanted to say how they have also, yeah, go ahead, Claire.
Hi, I just wanted to say with our RSSP program, we have 24 months to move people to self-sustainability. And we do a lot of linkage and referral at a really grassrootsy level to make sure that those who participate in our program know what the resources are. So that includes making sure that the participants know about local food banks and partnering with HealthWorks and our local departments of social services to make sure that they have access to benefits. We partner with organizations as varied as we have an organization, Women Giving Back, that can provide clothes if people need to go to interviews. We partner with our local community colleges for training and job placement. So I don't know, Nicole, if you were looking for, real nuts and bolts about building community networks so that once our service is over, we're hopeful that we are empowering those who have participated with developing a network of their own so that they can continue to access the services they need far beyond the scope of our program. So I hope that's helpful.
Absolutely. And it's like you need to like uncover all these different places in your community as well as in your state. So I think that's really helpful. I just want to go back to Mentimeter in terms of partnerships and see what we see here before we kind of close this out today. So we're seeing here a couple of Pennsylvania examples. I'm seeing community development corporations can be great folks that folks can work with. Let's see what else is coming in. Housing Counseling Agency collaborating with Mercer County and Mercer County. Oh, it's also in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of housing counseling agencies in Pennsylvania and HUD grantees as well. North Carolina Housing Coalition. Okay, Cincinnati Community Action Agency working with Legal Aid Society. Oh, and here's some Texas, City of Houston, State of Texas, Harris County. And I can't read the rest unless I, okay, and also a university, University of Texas, Southern University. So we're gonna have to just keep this like flowing behind us and move back to our slides. But I did wanna thank our panel so much for talking to us today about your partnerships and all the connections that you've made in Virginia, Northern Virginia, in the state of Tennessee, as well as in the part of Louisiana and that corner that's Bossier and Shreveport. Really appreciate you guys sticking with us for this session and sharing your expertise. So we will be talking further about partnerships, and we invite those, particularly those that were a part of Mentimeter that talked about your partnerships. Please use this session and tell us there what your partnerships are too. We like to use Mentimeter just because there's a database behind it. It's very helpful and we get an awesome report at the end of the day. So we're gonna get back to some of you about your connections, but still talk to us on Whova. It would be really helpful if you could do that. So you can always go back and get the materials for this presentation, as well as come back to the audio recording, the transcript, all of those things. And certainly if you are part of this community planning and development programs, check out all the resources on the HUD-Exchange.Housing Counseling. There is a lot there. And if you want to communicate with HUD directly, housing.counseling@hud.gov. And if your housing counseling agency, of course, your HUD point of contact is always a great resource for you. So we have about 3 minutes for us to take a deep breath before we start the closing and lessons learned session. It's the same link, just stay with us. We're going to hear from David. We're going to hear from Michelle Perez with Field Policy and Management. We're also going to hear from Jameen Bryan from the Office of Special Needs Programs, as well as the Office of HIV Housing. AIDS and HIV housing. So stick back with us, take a deep breath, you can stretch, and we'll be back momentarily. But thanks so much for joining us for this partnership session.